What's up, War Report family? It is your boy C Dub. Auburn announces DJ Durkin as its newest defensive coordinator, which completes Hugh Freeze's staff. We give grades in terms of how we think Hugh Freeze did with his recent hires. Also, we'll discuss Auburn basketball and more. It's a nice edition of the Midweek Report. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the latest midweek report, courtesy of Opelika Rage Room. That's a new show sponsor. And listen, if you need to blow off some steam, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Some people go to their vices. But if you don't want to resort to that, or if you don't have time to go to the gym and you got time, head over to Opelika Rage Room if you're in the area. You can break stuff, guys. You can hit them up at 1510 2nd Avenue, Opelika, Alabama 36801. Or if you're in the Birmingham area, you can hit them up 2616 7th Avenue South in Birmingham. Definitely tell them that the War Report sent you. Special shouts out to them for being a sponsor of today's show. I'm joined by Ike, B. Will. Mike G will be covering the game tonight on the hardwood. Auburn takes on Vanderbilt in less than an hour. But while you're here with us, do the necessary, share this video, smash that like button, and subscribe to this channel. Ike, tell the people why they need to get a green name and how they go about doing that.
Click that join button and you can join the best community out here on the interwebs. We appreciate all of our folks that are out here in the membership community of the War Report. We got a lot of film review that we're doing during the off season on football and basketball. Green Name Gang, y'all know how we do, man. But early access to videos, all of that you get with our Green Name memberships. And we appreciate y'all for continuing to support. If you are a member and you want to give to membership, you can do that right now in the live chat. And somebody will get a free month of membership on you. So you can go ahead and do that right now from the live chat. And then check out the folks on the network. We are the Auburn Express, Uptempo Podcast, and College Loop, all a part of the War Report Podcast Network. And we appreciate everyone who continues to listen there.
It's finally been announced, and what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to discuss the hires. I want to ask you guys a few questions about not only grades, but expectations for each side of the ball. With this being new staff turnover, what are some of our expectations? What is the one thing we would like to see from either side of the ball that we perhaps didn't see enough of in 2023? But let's start with the defensive hires, guys, or the staff hires. Obviously, DJ Durkin is the latest assistant to be hired. He will serve as defensive coordinator. Ike, you made mention of it, and now that you mention it, I haven't seen a listed by him. He is listed as the defensive coordinator, no co-defensive coordinator. I thought that was very interesting, seeing as though Charles Kelly was announced as co-defensive coordinator. So, but he joins the staff along with Charles Kelly, who was announced a few weeks ago. On the offensive side of the ball, you have new running backs coach Derek Nix, as well as / offensive coordinator, and Kent Austin gets promoted from off the field to on the field as QB coach. Want to start with you, B. Will. Let's talk offensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Obviously some shuffling there. Caddy leaves, Phil Montgomery leaves. In comes these two guys that I've mentioned. Ken Austin was already on staff, so really the only addition here is Derek Nix. In your estimation, what grade would you give the offensive side of the ball as it pertains to this staff?
I'm thinking, what would I grade the staff if I didn't know what the staff was last year? And then what would I grade the changes? Because that's two different questions. The change is an A because you went from a Phil Montgomery who you weren't meshing with philosophically to a somebody who you would already work with, who knows you, you know them, and seems to be a better fit. A better fit, uniformity across the offensive front. You decide that you're going to call plays. Derek Nix is at least going to call some plays. We don't know exactly to what extent or what measure, but just getting everybody in line on that side of the ball, that's worth its weight in gold. So that's an A on the offensive side of the ball. Now, if you just tell me, hey, here's a college football team, here's the staff. Hugh Freeze is the head coach and also the play caller, also the offensive coordinator to a certain extent because that's what he does. And Derek Nix is your OC. Ken Austin is your quarterback's coach. What grade do you give that? And I would say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Derek Nix's expertise is. I don't know how good he is going to be at calling plays, if he's going to call them. I don't know what his tendencies and what his efficiencies are as a play caller or even as a play designer. Like, we don't know that. We don't know. We can't parse apart what he did at Ole Miss because Lane Kiffin was there, another offensive mind who has his own system, who has his own ideas. We know that for the second time now, though, a Hugh Freeze, who is an offense-heavy guy, and a Lane Kiffin, who is an offense-heavy guy, both decided, no, I want you to stick around for me. And I do think that speaks towards how good he is or can be and what his role is. So I think it's a positive, but do I know outside of comparisons from the last staff how good the staff is? I don't know. I'm going to say B because I believe that Hugh Freeze is a talented offensive mind and play caller. So I would say B on its own, but from the changes standpoint of did we improve? Yes, we improved because we got in alignment on the offensive side.
Ike, what about you? What grade would you give the offensive hires or higher in this case?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd give it a B, right? And that's more so from a recruiting standpoint. I think that you got better with Derek Nix. I don't know enough about what he does as far as on the field coaching. He seems to be really good with running backs, but I mean they're Ole Miss running backs, so they didn't do too much.
Yeah.
Just because it's Ole Miss, right? Like, I mean, outside of the last two seasons, of course, with their dynamic running back that they had there, like it didn't seem like Ole Miss was committed to running the ball that much. They had a good run game. I don't want to disrespect Ole Miss's run game. I just really don't like Lane Kiffin, so I don't want to give him no credit for nothing.
That's what it sounds like.
Let me not just. I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be a hater.
No,
Ole Miss
man,
is
it's
running
cool.
game.
Be a hater.
You sound like a hater, but it's okay
Yeah.
when it comes
Yeah.
to Ole Miss. So
Ole Miss had a good run game. I ain't gonna be no hater. Nah. So but still, I think B plus is probably a good place to put it. Just because you didn't change a whole bunch, and I don't want to compare it like B Will was saying. I don't really want to compare what I think. I think it was an upgrade overall in the staff this season, but with Montgomery, I felt like we were getting an experienced play caller that was going to be able to allow Coach Freeze to focus on the recruiting, which he ultimately did. But I think we're going to see kind of the reverse now, where more of the staff is going to focus on recruiting and Coach Freeze is going to focus on play calling. And for that reason, I think it's great because I think that the offense absolutely needs that. But I'll give it a B plus overall for the staff.
yeah, I mean, I was torn between a B, like I was going to go B plus or B with this staff, but I think you have to consider in hindsight, which is always 2020, how we graded out with the offensive hires last year when Hugh Freeze came on. The Philip Montgomery hire in and of itself, and it's not necessarily about his ability to coach, his offensive mind. I just think because of the lack of chemistry between him and Hugh Freeze, that hire in and of itself would have brought down that hire.
Yeah,
The offensive
retrospectively,
staff's
you
higher.
grade it
Yeah.
way lower.
Like it's a way so even if I say B, it's an improvement over what Hugh Freeze did in his inaugural staff on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So bringing in someone who is familiar not only with Hugh Freeze, but has also worked with your offensive line coach.
Yeah.
You're bringing in people who have experience working with one another. I'll also mention that when we get to DJ Durkin as well. These guys understand each other. They have a lot of experience in the SEC. They have a lot of experience recruiting in the SEC. The only unknown here is Ken Austin. I'm not quite sure about how he is as a recruiter. I think he's been lauded as a very good QB coach, which is what we need and which is what he's been hired for. In fact,
Yeah.
I was surprised that he wasn't given that title when Hugh Freeze first came over.
I didn't
Seeing as though
realize he
he's
didn't have that title until this year
yeah,
when he officially got.
Well,
I was
he
like, he
was
wasn't already that.
he was an off the field analyst slash QB coach, but of course they didn't have enough room for him to be an on the field quarterbacks coach. They're just moving him. He's still doing the same role essentially, just on the field now instead of off the field.
it's official. It's but yeah. So I was surprised at that, but I think that's perhaps the question mark is. I think Derek Nix is known as a good recruiter. So you're trading a good recruiter in Caddy for a good recruiter in Derek Nix. Cool. How good is Ken Austin? Or how involved will he be in recruiting? That's the question there. And that's what's something that I'm curious about. We'll see. But I think considering the dynamic of this coaching staff last year, given that Hugh Freeze is going to be more involved offensively, and he has guys on his staff who has worked with him under this new direction or same direction, seeing as though these guys are familiar with him.
Right.
I think it's definitely an improvement. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm not mad at that. I mean, it's not me hating, but it's just I think it's an improvement. We're heading in the right direction there. Let's talk defense, guys.
All right.
Charles Kelly, DJ Durkin. Hugh Freeze got his guy. What do we think about that side of the ball? I will start with you, we will.
You know, I don't really know what to make of DJ Durkin's jobs at A, Ole Miss, and then B, Texas A&M. And the reason is that at Ole Miss, he was playing under a head coach who may have put his defense in bad situations intentionally from time to time. All right. So if we're going to weigh out, and I haven't looked at Ole Miss's defensive stats under Durkin, just like I haven't looked at Texas A&M. So what I think back to is when we played them, was there ever a moment where I'm like, oh, man, they're too good. We're not going to get this. No. I was never scared of Ole Miss defensively, and I wasn't really scared of Texas A&M defensively, even though I feel like we should have been, because with the talent that they had on that side of the ball, you get a really good defensive coordinator. That should be what you need to put a slam lock crazy defensive team on the field, but they weren't really that. We ran the ball very well against Texas A&M. We had a laughable amount of errors in that game, and of course the offense didn't do much. It kind of self-imploded, but we still did. I don't know. Like, did we stop ourselves last year on offense, or did the other team stop us? And with Texas A&M, I go, kind of bold, because that's who we were on offense last year. I don't know what to make of it, but I also know that, again, Ole Miss, he wasn't playing for a guy who was going to help and protect the defense. Like, Hugh Freeze consciously made a decision to try and help the defense last year. Lane Kiffin wasn't going to do that. At Texas A&M, he's playing for a guy who really is just on the way out for like a year and a half, because Jimbo's just not a good head coach, so the culture was poor from top to bottom. And how much can you get out of players? How much can you get full focus, participation, and effort out of players in that type of environment? Maybe if you're a really, really good type of leader yourself, but maybe not. So I don't really know what to make of DJ Durkin as a defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a poor one, because if he was a poor one, then we see like what we see every time Ted Roof goes to be the defense coordinator somewhere. He's just going to leave in a couple of years. It's like, oh, well, that's a bad defense. You out of here. But we don't. It's not that. He's not a bad one. I don't know if he's a good one or not. We don't have enough consistent, hey, I'm going to give you what you need to succeed here, the way Gus did with Kevin Steele, okay? The way that I do think Hugh Freeze did with Ron Roberts. I'm going to give you what you need. I'm going to help you and protect you. Can you do the rest for me? Yet to be determined if that is what we have, a great defensive coordinator or even a good one. We got to give him some time to see.
What you think, Ike?
I think this is a quality hire, man. I don't think all of these staffs around the SEC wanted to hire DJ Durkin for no reason. He's improved the defense first year in both of his previous stops, Ole Miss and Texas A&M, and I think that he is going to be a good hire, and he's a good recruiter, and that's something that I don't know that I could say of Ron Roberts. So, from that standpoint, very good. Then when you think about what you get with making sure you keep Wesley McGriff on staff, that's a plus,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then, last but not least, Charles Kelly, who he's been good everywhere that he's been. Again, I don't know what to make of that first year at Colorado, or his only year at Colorado. I won't say first year, that year at Colorado, as far as what he is as a defensive mind. But he helped them to get a good recruiting class, even in a short time there. So, Charles Kelly is that guy when it comes to recruiting, and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to make those relationships, specifically here in the Southeast. So I like what you get from Kelly, and I like what we have in DJ Durkin, and the retention of crime is important to that whole mixture.
Yes.
I'll stay at a B plus. Actually, I'll go A minus for the defense. Actually, I'm gonna bump it up to A minus on the defensive staff. I think that this is a good staff as it's composed right now.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm going A minus for a lot of the reasons Ike mentioned, but I think it's an A minus because you could have done so much worse than what you did. Given the issues on that side of the ball from a chemistry standpoint with coaches, this could have been much worse than what it was. Because McGriff was pretty much out the door,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you would have had to replace. I mean, you would have had to replace him as well. Like you're looking at two coaches in the defensive backfield that you would have had to replace. Essentially, you only had to replace one when it was all said and done. You bring in a guy who has worked with two guys who are on your staff currently because they all coached together at Ole Miss. The offensive line coach and Derek Mix.
Mm-hmm.
So this is someone who not only has a lot of experience in the SEC, something that Ron Roberts did not have, but this person has also worked with some of the guys already on staff, which is big.
Yeah.
You have a guy who has, and I know you made mention B to Ole Miss. Ole Miss just did not have the athletes. Like when we looked at, especially I think last year we saw an upgrade in terms of talent on that side of the ball. And it showed because statistically their defense took some steps in the right direction.
Right.
Right. So I remember watching, and we were discussing Ole Miss. They just didn't have the guys to run that scheme that DJ Durkin had at Ole Miss, which means they were very vulnerable against the run. If you recall, even in Harson's final year, we were able to run the ball pretty well against Ole Miss. A lot of teams were able to run the ball.
Yeah.
For all the complaints about Texas A&M and how bad their defense, their secondary was last year, because that's where a lot of the complaints was with DJ Durkin's defense last year was the secondary.
Right.
They had a very formidable front line. DJ Durkin is a linebacker coach by trade. Nothing else, he's going to have your front seven in decent shape. And that's exactly how A&M was, which mitigated some of the issues. Me and I talked about it offline before we started the show. Mitigated some of the issues on the back end of your defense. I expect him to actually improve, and we'll talk about this later, but I'm excited about what he's going to do with the front seven. I really am. And you don't lose your scheme for the most part because he ran a very similar scheme as Ron Roberts. So you don't have to teach these kids a brand spanking new defense. Terminology may be a little different, but conceptually, you're still running the same defense in a sense. You got 3 down linemen, the responsibility of whatever they're going to call the edge jack, whatever that position is, whether he's going to be back in coverage more or if he's going to be strictly a rush end type of guy. That's up to DJ Durkin to determine. But the defensive scheme is still intact. So I like that from that vantage point. And to Ike's point, I think we upgraded from a recruiting standpoint with DJ Durkin. Charles Kelly, awesome recruiter, has been a part of some amazing defenses. It's an A-, actually, considering what could have potentially happened with that side of the ball, given the issues going on last year. I think Hugh Freeze did exceptionally well on that side. I think we were lucky, if we're going to be honest about how it all played out. Could have gone much worse. I'm going to go A- here.
Let me ask y'all this. Do y'all believe that DJ Durkin was first choice?
No.
No.
I think Chris Kiffin was the first choice.
Okay. I wonder why he keeps why does Hugh Freeze think he gets the second season? He was like, I want Chris Kiffin. Chris Kiffin was like, I'll talk to you in a minute.
He worked. I mean, they worked together. This is another guy who worked with Hugh Freeze. So the theme I've gotten from Hugh Freeze this year is I'm going with the guys that I've had success with. Right?
Okay.
Kiffin was one of those guys, so that makes him an attractive choice. I've already mentioned how I'm hesitant with NFL guys,
right?
Because they're a phone call away,
from
going back. And who wouldn't want to take a higher paying job with less responsibility?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily higher paying. It depends. If your reputation is good enough in college, you can make way more than an NFL job. But to your point, it's a lot more regulated and a lot more consistent than college coaching for sure.
So I'm always leery about those guys. You hire Chris Kiffin. Are we going to be back here a year later talking about a new defensive coordinator?
Right. Yeah.
So, and again, it is not like the Houston Texans was trash. They went to the playoffs and advanced with a rookie head coach and a rookie QB.
A defensive head coach, by the way, who, if you are the defensive coordinator, now he doesn't call the defense, DeMeco Ryans does, because he's a defensive guy by trade. But
is he the DC there though? Is he the D line coach?
He was a D line coach.
Okay, that's awesome.
Oh, okay.
He's D line coach. He's a D line coach. But my point is that why leave a good thing?
Right.
It's not like it was a sinking ship. So
yeah, I mean, the only reason I would say is if you really kind of like the mentorship aspect that you get from being a college coach, and if you wanted to be a defensive coordinator, right? So you get the promotion to DC, and you get a chance to mentor the guys in college. That would be a reason that you would do it. But if it's just about kind of what's the best situation, there's no real reason to leave Houston right now. They're doing well.
Yeah. Right. So. No, I think Kiffin, his familiarity with Kiffin made him very attractive. But I would have been surprised if Kiffin had left. Again, he was offered the co-defensive coordinator position at Ole Miss a year ago, accepted it, and then went back to the NFL. Yeah. So that was going to be a hard pull. If he had done that, I would have been impressed that he got him to go he got him to come back to college instead of his brother. I would have been surprised if he had pulled that.
So he's the linebackers coach. At the
linebackers coach. Okay.
So good info. Appreciate that, Jonathan.
So, gentlemen, what do we expect? So let's go overall. I think we just got to go overall. So overall, what is your overall grade? Because also, too, even though we lost Trevon Reed, you guys talked about that.
Forgot about Trevon.
You guys talked about Trevon Reed.
Yeah.
Leaving on the Sundays live. I wasn't on that one. But man, last week was a week of L's, man. Goodness gracious. But
don't remind me.
We hired Will Redmond from LSU to be the GM of football. Our thoughts overall, on-field staff, off-field staff, the hires that we're aware of. How would you grade what Hugh Freeze has done up to this point?
I'd give him a solid B+. And the reason I say B+ is just looking at the offseason and what you had to do. I think Ron Roberts needed to not be here. I think Coach Crime needed to be back. Those changes, I mean, that happened. Both of those things happened. So that's a big win. I don't know if Hugh Freeze has a philosophy that he leans towards on defense, or if it's like, is he get the right guy or does he get the right scheme? And that's something I don't know about Hugh Freeze because I haven't followed his head coaching career long enough to know what we all running at Ole Miss, what we running at Liberty. I'm not sure about that. I would like to know. There are a lot of offensive head coaches who get the wrong defensive coordinator a lot because I don't know why. It just seems to happen a whole lot. Like what's his name? Lincoln Riley. Bad, terrible, awful, no good choices at defensive coordinator, and it's been that way for a long time. I am interested to see, Hugh Freeze, do you have a guy that you want or do you have a scheme that you want? And you're just going to trust, you're going to get any guy that runs that scheme because, in a lot of coordinators that like this, that's what gives me trouble. That guy gave me hell with his scheme, so I want to get him to run mine. I want to know what that is. I don't know if he's plugging holes just for culture and fit, or if schematically these are the best possible choices. That's what I don't know, so it's hard to grade overall. But I do think the player development people, the kind of transfer portal GM guys that we've gotten, that's going to help a lot because I think we saw, if you look at our overall haul in the transfer portal last year, it did not work out very well. So if he's patched that hole, what he's done is saying, I'm not good at that, I need guys. I'm not good at this, I need somebody. I applaud him for understanding what he is and isn't good at and making those changes. The changes that needed to happen happened. Whether or not they're the absolute best choices, we don't know yet. But I applaud him. I think it's an A because he made the changes that needed to happen.
What say you, Ike?
Yeah, I'll give it an A overall as well. I mean, listen, losing Cadillac and Zach Etheridge in the same offseason, just that felt like a potential disaster.
Yeah,
and then Crime was already out the door, right? And so like you couldn't have all three of those guys leave and have me feel good. So I thought.
Right.
But then you go and you hire Charles Kelly, who I think is a great coach, and you go and you get Derek Nix, who I think is a good coach, and you go and get DJ Durkin, who I think is a good coach. And I think it makes you feel a little bit better about the attrition that happens.
Yeah.
But and then, you know, with Trevon Reed leaving and you get Will Redmond in, I think that's good for the role that you're asking him to do as far as just kind of helping you organize GM style, what you need to do in this era of college football. So, you know, listen, it's an A, man. And the only thing that had me kind of frustrated with this entire process was how long the defensive coordinator search took. But, you know, I think it had to be the way that it is in order for them to be able to get their guy, just because the whole Chris Kiffin thing was a saga that was going to go on forever. So they just had to pull the trigger on something, and they've done that.
And I think, too, Hugh Freeze met with reporters today and was like, hey, I'm taking my time on this process. He wasn't going to make a quick decision. I think Hugh Freeze also understands the sense of urgency around year two. He's going to have to show some improvements on the field. I think he's done enough for people to be patient, given how year one played out because of how he's done on the recruiting trail. He knows in year two, I need to show improvement on the field, which means I got to get this right. Not only in terms of chemistry with staff, but also to make sure that we're all flowing in the same direction.
Yep. Great.
I think, and you guys talked about it last Sunday, I didn't get a chance to chime in with Will Redmond. Obviously, he's doing something completely different from what Trevon Reed was asked to do. I think Trevon Reed was pretty much the guy who, when those kids came in the door and you needed someone to sell Auburn, you needed someone to resonate with the family.
Yeah.
Trevon was that guy. I think in this new era of portal, the issue was we can't even get these guys here because they're visiting school A and they're committing before they even visit Auburn, right? That was one of the frustrations that Hugh Freeze lamented over the transfer portal era.
Yeah.
This is a guy who helped LSU pretty much rebuilt its roster through the transfer portal when Brian Kelly showed up there. This guy has experience in that. And we're not even in a desperate situation as Brian Kelly was, but this guy can shore up some of the gaps that Hugh Freeze is unable to address through high school. And I think that's an amazing get to help him with something that, for the most part, Hugh Freeze has admitted this is a weakness of mine.
Right.
So to shore up that weakness with this hire is strong. I'm going a B plus here. It's kind of the average of the two, but I think Will Redmond in and of itself is a B plus hire as well. So it's a B plus in my book.
Yeah.
B, we'll talk about expectations after the break, but we definitely want to hear from you guys, especially if you're watching on the replay. How would you grade this staff? Offense, defense overall, how do you feel about what Hugh Freeze has done? Are you happy about it, excited about it? Those of you watching live, we've already seen your comments. We'll get to some of you guys once we return from the break. Do us a favor and continue to share this video. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're going to pay some bills and come back to discuss expectations moving forward.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. Thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who are locked in with War Report membership. We appreciate all of you. Make sure that you get your membership active so you can get access to all of the great benefits we have. We're doing, if you guys didn't realize, the morning drop now, we're doing those with members early, and then we drop that for everybody else. So you got to be a member to do the live chat on the morning drop. We're also doing stuff with Lobtown for members only, and then re-releasing that content to everybody else. Just trying to give some more perks to the people who are supporting us with their money. And we're still doing all kinds of film review stuff. So make sure you lock that in. If you want to gift a membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. Somebody can get a free month of membership on you. Make sure you lock in with the guys in the network, the Auburn Express, Uptempo Podcast, College Loop, and we need to make sure that we are supporting all of those guys in whatever ways that they're doing their thing. And last but not least, it's Valentine's season. So y'all know you need to get here with this Manscaped, baby. Roses are red, violets are blue. Trim your balls, and your date will thank us too. Valentine's Day is knocking, and Manscaped is the remedy for what the Love Doctor ordered. His prescription, the all-new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, designed to elevate your grooming game and shine like the heartthrob you are. It also comes with the brightest LED spotlight yet, and it's brighter than your best romantic smile, perfect for precise grooming, even in the trickiest spots. Oh, and it's waterproof too, making shower shaves a breeze. And for the bearded kings, Manscaped brings you the Beard Hedger Pro Kit, designed to shape your scruff effortlessly. It sculpts cheek lines and maintains beard styles, giving you that suave look for your romantic moments. Get 20% off and free shipping with code RAPPORT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code RAPPORT, because your grooming upgrade awaits, ready to charm your Valentine's dates.
Appreciate that, Ike. Ike's jumping out. B is you and I. Let's grab some comments, and then we'll get into a question that I've kind of already teased for the show. Daniel Moultrie says he gives this an A. Bringing back Crime Dog is big time too. Definitely factor that into my decision on mine as well. That's I think, and I forgot to mention it, but I think that low key may be one of the sneakiest, biggest additions to the staff is bringing him back.
Bringing Crime back, because when you lost Zach Etheridge, you lost a connection to the players. He had a connection with his players that he recruited. And the same thing with Trevon Reed. Like their connection, their peer-to-peer. Trevon Reed talked about in the interview with us the building rapport about how he was looking coming out of high school. He was looking for a connection and brotherhood and also a father figure. And he knows that guys need that, so he's able to be that with these guys. You lose a Zach Etheridge, you lose a Trevon Reed. Who are these guys going to connect to like that? And we've talked about this before. These are young black guys talking to young coaches on the staff, young recruiters. It's not the guy who's 60 trying to tell you why your education is valuable. No, it's the guy who's like 35, like, hey, let me tell you exactly what value it's going to bring to you. It's just, it hits so much different when it comes from somebody who's been in your shoes. And losing that was going to be really big if you lost all of it. But fortunately, we were able to keep Coach Crime, somebody, again, on the football level, coaches, defensive backs, up into the league, bar none. There's nobody better. And this is not the 5-star guys who just come in and they were going to go to the league anyway and you send them. No, these are the guys who are the 2 stars, the 3 stars, the wide receivers, the converted guys, and he gets them to the league as defensive backs. Ultimate value there. But him staying is a really big deal for that reason. And I'm glad. If he doesn't stay, then I'm probably looking at this entire offseason with a slightly negative tint. Like, I don't know, man. We lost Crime and Trevon and Zach. It would have been. I would have been a lot more negative about it. But keeping Crime, it went a long way.
It was huge. It was huge for sure. For sure. Hot Rod 88 says, I give the new staff hire an A+. You know, one of the beautiful things about this, B, is that we get to see down the road if this was an A+ hire with this staff, considering what we see in terms of on the field. Because retrospectively, I was able to say that, hey, hiring Phillip Montgomery brought that grade down tremendously. Again, not to say, but just because of the lack of synergy, chemistry between him and Hugh Freeze and how that bled into how that offense performed was not a good hire. We'll see if this staff, as it's currently constructed, really is an A+ down the road.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Oda Smith says, Austin Kent, A. I know he's not a new hire. Derek Nix, A+. Charles Kelly, A. DJ, A+ overall grade. I give our staff a solid A. Put a number grade on it, 94. He put a number on it, B.
Yeah.
Oda's filling his staff.
How you get a double grade out of this?
Hilarious.
How you even do that? That's funny.
All right. He was like, it's almost an A+, but I'm gonna give you a number grade just to show you how close it was. Damian Smith gifted 10 World Report memberships. Thank you, good sir. Stephen Finch says, Saul, did we see Lane tweet about the DJ Durkin hire?
Did not see it, but not surprised. He is big time in his feelings these days. He is a feeling individual, a petty individual. I actually respect petty. Petty is a language I speak. I am fluent in that. So I understand. I do think it's a little unbecoming as a head coach of a program to be that petty publicly. It's like you just, trash talk behind the scenes. When you go golfing with the other coaches, take some shots at Hugh then. You know what I'm saying? Don't over Twitter is just like, man, that's what us who don't make millions of dollars to run an organization and be in this industry. You do. So just make the money and coach, and you let us be petty. Let your fan base be petty on your behalf, Lane. You ain't got to be petty. That should be beneath you.
He can't help himself.
He can't help it.
He cannot help himself. Lance Morgan comes back and says the defensive staff as a whole is probably the best overall staff right now in the SEC. We may only get a couple of years before people get hired off, but this staff is really good. I agree with you, Lance. This is a really good staff. But what's so interesting about it, though, you got some guys on this staff who really want to be around for a long time. Charles Kelly wants to be at Auburn for a while. Coach Crime wants to be here for a while. Obviously, DJ Durkin, if he gets some opportunities, I mean, that's something to keep an eye out on. But you got some young guys as well on this staff who we'll keep an eye on, especially if this defense takes off for sure.
Yeah.
Thomas Jones, appreciate the $5 super sticker. He asks, is it true that Kiffin is heading to the Dolphins as defensive coordinator? And I think Tony Baker says Kiffin is interviewing for Miami. So I don't know if that's been announced, but hey,
he wants to stay in the league, man. Hey, hopefully Hugh don't ask next year. Just like, hey, Hugh, he don't want to do it, man. It's all right.
Right.
Again, I don't even blame him.
he's having success in the
Right.
NFL. So
Right.
it's not like Nick Saban. You know, I'm being petty right now. Nick Saban's like, you know what? Even though I'm not going to that school, I am going to that school to coach because I need a job.
Anything but this.
So
Ran from the grind. Nick Saban ran from the grind. The best college coach of all time ran from the NFL grind. It was the best decision he ever made.
Yes, Bama was the recipient of that decision. So, yeah. Tony Baker also had the $9.99 super chat. Appreciate you there, good brother.
Tony,
Damian Smith says, I know Coach Hugh Freeze is a man of faith, but could he be showing a little pettiness towards his old SEC employer by taking from them and assembling his old crew? Perhaps.
I can't think of anything better. You let Lane talk as much as he wants to talk and make all his jokes, and then I'm gonna take your people. Like, that's really cool. That's really, really cool because you could talk as much. Your jokes are funny. Your tweets are witty. It cracks me up sometimes. But I'm still gonna take your coach.
Dog. I got you good, though.
She still got snatched. It's all good. You can make all them jokes. I'm still gonna take her. That's fantastic, man. That's you let that do the talking, and then you gotta win though. We're not gonna see them next year. Whenever we see Ole Miss again, I want to beat them down badly. I'm tired of being down against Ole Miss. I don't like that.
Yeah, for sure. Tony Baker came back and says, smash, like, and share. Appreciate that, good sir. Kevin, welcome, good sir. Haley gifted 5 Rapport memberships. God
nice of you. Thank you.
Bless you, Haley. God bless you out here doing the Lord's work. All right, B.
What up?
Expectations. What do you expect to see? What is one thing you want to see from an improvement standpoint, given this new staff that's assembled? Let's just get offense out of the way since it's so obvious.
I mean, obviously, you want to see better quarterback play, but that may be as simple as just picking a different guy. That's it. It may be that simple. Hey, Ken Austin was here last year. Did it seem to make too much of a difference? No. So you pick the right guy, and maybe you can get more out of that position. Period. I think picking the wrong players, and it's not exclusive to quarterback. The wrong player can have you looking like a bad coach, a worse coach than you are. Just like picking a great player can probably have you looking like a better coach than you are.
Right.
So you pick the right guy quarterback. I think that solves a lot of problems over there. Even with if the exact same staff had come back, the right guy quarterback makes a difference. But what you do expect to see is not such a clear difference between the games that Hugh Freeze says, well, I called the offense, and the game where he says, well, I didn't call the offense, because it was night and day as far as our success, how in sync we looked, how fluid the offense looked. You expect at least that to be solved, not this herky-jerky, good one game, bad the other game, no idea what we looked like we wanted to do with the game plan. Like, that's got to be out the window. So I'm hoping that problem is fixed on offense.
I think you kind of bled over into my response in terms of what I want to see. I want to see an identity this year.
Yeah.
And at times, I think we begin to see what the identity was. I think I had a difficult time accepting it because I'm like, why are we running the ball with our QB?
Yeah.
Right. So I want to see I want to see a Hugh Freeze offense this year. That's pretty much. Hugh Freeze has had an offense, and obviously it has gone through different iterations because of your personnel, right? They were a balanced team at Liberty because they had a QB there, Malik Willis, who was a threat with his legs, right? So I want to see, because you got some guns, you got some guys who can sling the ball, in that QB room now. Yep. I want to see a Hugh Freeze offense.
Yes, please.
Moving forward. That's pretty much when we see improved quarterback play, it resembles that of what we've seen from Hugh Freeze when he was last in the SEC. So if we see that, I'm good with that. Yeah. Defensive side of the ball. What are some things you would like to see?
I'd like to see the defense.
What was one improvement?
I'd like to see the secondary step up. I think linebacker is going to be our best position on defense next year, easily, because we have experience coming back. and we've got such a influx of talent coming in at that position. Secondary, of course, we loaded up on talent last cycle, and that talent is going to get a chance to show what it can do. But linebacker is, I expect it to be elite. We should have an elite linebacking core because we've got too much talent and experience there. So I expect that position to be elite. Defensive line is still the biggest question mark to me. We got a couple of Florida defections in Mars Williams, and who was the other guy we got from Florida? I'm blanking on his name right now. But two guys that came. No, one was from Florida. He was
Oh
committed to
yeah,
Florida, but
yeah.
from
The guy who's
Mississippi.
the Jack. Yeah, yeah.
The Jack. So what we got was two really good incoming prospects. We probably need another body at defensive line. I think we got one in the portal, actually. Did we? Am I making that up? I'm not sure if I'm making that up.
This year,
Yeah, I don't
you
think
got
we do.
Jamonte Waller. You got Jamonte Waller, and you got Amaris Williams.
Okay. Yeah, we need a little more there. We lost Justin Rogers. I know he spelled Jason Jones from time to time. I actually like Jason Jones. He was consistent. Was he like, Derek Brown dominant? No, but hey man, he's got more time and he's got another year. Hopefully without some nagging injuries to really break out and be even more consistent inside than he already was. The defensive backfield, I think, is the biggest puzzle though, because you've got a lot of pieces, but do you know how good any of those pieces are? Do you know the right spot they need to be playing in? Do they know? That's a really important question. I mean, we thought Simp was a corner. Turns out he's a safety. Right. What do you know? So, I mean, you get these guys on the field, you figure out what you think they can do, and then you have to adjust from there and realize, no, I think you should be here. Some of it we may know already. Keontae Scott coming back, again, that's huge. We know we have our star. Losing DK is a bit of a concern, but I have no concerns when I know that Wesley McGriffin and Charles Kelly, two very experienced, very good defensive coaches, are going to be back there getting it together. I'm really not too concerned about it, but they do have to find the right guys at outside corner for us immediately. We got the safety from Texas that's probably going to pick up the safety position vacated by Simp. We got another safety position to figure out. A lot of possible guys, but I'm really high on linebacker, question mark a little bit on defensive back, and question mark a little bit on defensive line. So I edge and linebacker, I expect those to be outrageous, but the rest work in progress. But I think we got enough talent to get it done.
We have Josh Aldrich and DJ Durkin, who are linebacker coaches by trade, and they are good at what they do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have an infusion of talent. We've got some depth there. Obviously, some of the new kids have come in and have been impressive. DeMarcus Riddick comes to mind. You got Dorian Masai, who we got out of the portal. So you got some depth behind your main guys, Eugene Asante, Austin Keys, and those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
D-line. D-line has been a question mark, obviously. There's some concerns there. You got Keldrick Falk, Darren Reed. Does he take a step forward this year? Zeke Walker, does he take a step forward this year? Quintrell Jameson, Travis. You mentioned Jason Jones. Malik Blockton comes in. Trill Carter, right, who you got out the portal.
That's right.
Gage Keys, who you got out the portal. TJ Lindsay, who came out of high school. We got some bodies and some young talent there. I'm curious to see if they continue to go to the portal to fill up some bodies up front. What I'm looking forward to seeing be Will. Even though we did fairly well for the most part statistically, I want to see us improve against the run this year. Auburn ranked 76th in the nation against the run, giving up 155 yards a game. Under last year, just looking at last year's stats alone, given the talent that they had, Texas A&M was in the top 20. DJ Durkin was pretty stout against the run with the mean front seven that he had.
Yeah.
With the way we're recruiting, with the way we're bringing in talent, given the guy who specializes in having a strong front seven, I expect Auburn to move up in this statistical category this season. I want to see us get more stout against the run. And I think that also helps us with another stat, fourth down percentage.
Oh yeah.
Because it was almost a foregone conclusion at times that when teams had to go for it on fourth down and it was a short yardage situation, they was going to get it. They actually were successful against Auburn 55% of the time, putting us pretty low in terms of rankings in NCAA against stopping teams on fourth down. You begin to build a stout front seven. Those fourth down conversions begin to go down more so. And again,
Right.
I'm waiting on someone to joke that, hey, I don't see I don't want to see him rush two people
Yeah,
against
man.
Bama. I,
I'm gonna be thinking about that. Like every time we have any type of play, I don't care if it's like end of half. I'm just gonna be like, all right, how many we rushing? I'm
yeah,
looking at it more and more in the NFL. I'm looking at it now like a lot more than I did before. It was traumatizing. See, I'm not gonna lie
yes,
to you. Yeah.
yeah. So again, that's one of my hopes. that's something I want to keep a close eye on, especially spring, especially going into the fall. I want to see how we look in the front seven defensively. Obviously, losing Harris, that hurts. So I'm just curious to see, do we fill that gap by committee, or do we have some guys really take a step forward in the spring? So that's something I'm gonna keep an eye on with the new coaches that we have assembled.
Yeah. Great.
Before we get out of here, let's talk basketball. Auburn's about
Let's
to
do it.
take the floor against Vandy. Does the streak end tonight? Be will.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna win tonight. We're at home. We're just too stout at home, so we're gonna win. I think the urgency is there. It's a little shameful that Bruce had to come out and say, "Hey, y'all, calm down, please." I told y'all like 2 weeks ago we're
He
not as
did.
good
He
as y'all
tried to
think
tell us.
as
He
y'all
tried
think
to.
we are.
He
We're
tried to
also
tell
not
us.
as bad as initially people thought we were. But we are improving, and I'm pleased with where we are because I see where we can go. Oh man, we weren't gonna go undefeated in the SEC. That wasn't gonna happen. You don't ever want to lose to, but there was a stat I saw fly across the timeline. I think it was actually from a Kentucky guy, a guy who covers Kentucky. He was trying to make excuses for Kentucky sucking on the road, but what he said was that the top 10 is losing. The top 10 ranked teams are losing on the road to unranked teams at a rate unforeseen.
Hmm.
They are losing over 60% of their games. Top 10 teams on the road. And what I think that means is that there are no elite teams. There are no incredible, overpowering basketball teams in the country, and that's okay. The tournament is the equalizer. All of that is neutral site.
Mm-hmm.
Play your best ball. You'll be able to sneak some people. Not everybody is because there are no elite teams. We should have confidence that as we continue to improve, we'll be right there at the top of the pile. I said before the season started, top 3 in the SEC. I still very much believe that. We'll be in the tournament. We're headed that direction.
Yeah, it's the
And then
top
we
three
get to
now
see.
still, but they're in the SEC now. So
Yeah. So, yeah, we are on track. You hope that you see Aiden continue to improve and hit some of those shots like Bruce talked about today in the game day presser. Aiden's getting those looks. Those looks are there.
mm-hmm.
You just need him to make them because he has the ability to make them. So it's like, hey, man, we're setting you up. You're getting what you need, so we need you to make them. The same thing with, I think Denver at times. For the first a good like 2 weeks, it was like, hey man, where's that shot at? Where's that shot at? Now his is starting to fall, but he also had the benefit of playing college ball for a couple of years, or at least 1 year. I don't know how long he was at FAU before he got here, but it's gonna take time. It takes time for players to get into the rhythm. It takes time for them to get used to the environment. Aiden's got to come around. I think he does come around, though. I'm not worried about it. And I
Denver
think Bruce
Jones
is
is a
right.
junior. Denver Jones is a junior.
Okay, so he had 2 years. So, yeah. So he had the benefit of actually playing college ball. So the transition hasn't been quite as rough for him coming from a lower grade up to the conference. So he's come around a little quicker. I don't think Aiden stays down for too long. I think by the time we hit middle of February, we should see him start to be in stride. That's what I think. Middle of February, we start to be in stride. But I think we get a win against Vanderbilt tonight because Vanderbilt just isn't good.
All right.
So we should get that win. I know they're going to be hungry. I expect it to be a blowout because we're at home and they've got a lot of stress to work out on whoever they were going to play tonight. But it happens to be Vanderbilt, so that's who's going to get it.
Yeah, I expect Auburn to run them off the floor tonight. I really do. My concern, and I think you guys asked it. Should we be concerned? I think you asked that on Sunday because you guys spent a good bit of time talking about Auburn basketball. I am concerned about this team. There are some legitimate concerns. Now, I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm not jumping off the ledge, but I think we should be concerned. In the three
Right.
close games that Auburn has had, it seems like if we're going to beat a team, we're going to run them. They're going to get boat raced. But if it becomes a close game, Auburn is 0-3 this season so far in close games. Two of them
Yeah.
on the road, one on a neutral site game to Baylor. And in those three games, I don't think we can say that Auburn actually played up to their competition, right?
Right.
So that's an area of concern. Auburn has to show that when it gets into these tight games, because when you get into tourney season, it's going to be some close games that you're going to find yourself in.
Yeah.
What do you have to draw on? And I think what's going to get Auburn through is Auburn's going to need a consistent second scorer on their team.
Right.
I think that's the problem right now with this
Yep.
team is that we know what Janai Broome is going to do. Even when he has a bad game, he's getting us close to a double-double.
Yeah, he is. He's doing the job.
He's-
He's I mean, it seems like he's pretty close to 20 a game. I know he's probably not. He's probably just below it, but you can pretty much count on 20 from him night in, night out. And he's hitting free throws much better.
15, at least a good 15, 16 out of Janai Broome on average a night,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who's the number two guy?
Right.
Now, Jay Will has been, he went through a nice little streak till he ran in the last week. Aiden Holloway
Yeah.
in a bit of a shooting slump right now. Auburn needs a number two guy to spell Janai Broome when we get into those moments.
And it
Can't
doesn't have
all
to be the
on
same
Janai
guy.
Broome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can't be on Janai. But Jalen, he really just slumped off for the road trip. And I don't know if that's something that's going to be consistent because we have seen, let's be clear, the Jalen that we're seeing this year was always possible. The one that we had seen so far up to the point when we started losing.
Mhm.
But he has, for the first time, started to find himself on the court. I think it's okay if he needs to find himself, that version of himself that we've seen this year, on the road as well. Because Jalen playing at this level was not playing at this level before this season. So let him play at this level.
He's a senior.
He is. But it just clicked. It just
Right.
clicked.
Right.
Yeah.
I one of them, one of the
Yeah.
two. I was curious to see if Denver Jones was going to be that guy, but I'm realizing as I'm watching him, and I haven't watched much film on FAU when he was there. I think for him to produce anything close to what he did at FAU, he needs the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah.
And I think with this offense, with all the players around, that's going to be next to impossible for him to be that dude and score that much. So I'm looking for, again, it can be by committee. Everybody just can't be off, right?
Right.
So I'm looking for there at least to be a consistent number two scorer on this team. Who is it going to be?
Right.
We won't get that answer tonight, but I expect Auburn to come out and play angry, play to the crowd, and have some fun. It's been too
Yeah.
long. This has been too long. You haven't been having fun. Have some fun. Enjoy the game. Bold race Vandy. Go 2-0. Continue to get revenge from them beating us when we were on the road last year.
Oh,
Finish the
yeah.
revenge tour and boat race them tonight. And let's work on getting some answers to how we play on the road in close games this weekend.
Yeah. I want to see Aiden getting step right here. And more minutes for Trey. I'll say that. I'm never mad at Bruce for giving Aiden these minutes late in games, even though he hasn't been playing well for the majority of the game. But really want to see Trey Donaldson. If you got a guard, he's been playing well. He hadn't been playing too many minutes like we had to do a couple times last year. We were so thin at guard. He's right there. You want to give Aiden some of these minutes to get the experience, but you can also put a guy in who can get the job done right now. So maybe Bruce goes to Trey a little more frequently in down the stretch. We'll see.
All right, we will. I'm going to take us out here. Listen, guys, do us a favor. If you haven't done so already, become a part of the Green Name Gang. Ike has been doing an exceptional job of doing film reviews in the off season. And listen, we got a new defensive coordinator. So in case you want to get an idea of how Auburn's defense is going to look in the upcoming season, you definitely want to become a patron member. $5.99 a month will get you there. Definitely do that. Check out some of the content that we have behind the paywall. Also, Ike is thinking of ways to also provide incentives to those of you who are members of the War Report. Also, if you want to give the gift of membership, some of our members have done that already in this live show. Definitely hit that button and give some people some memberships. You will just, if those of you who were gifted a membership, check your email, enjoy that month's content. Hopefully, you enjoy enough to where you want to put a ring on it and be a paying member yourself.
Put a ring on it.
Definitely do that. We greatly appreciate you guys for doing that. Also, guys, we are a whole network out here in these streets. Definitely check out some of our other podcasts that we have, the Uptempo podcast, the College Loop, Just a Sec, and of course the Auburn Express, which features some of our lives as well that we do throughout the week. Definitely check us out there. Continue to support us. We don't give away giveaways during the week, but you can always go to our store. Hit us up at thewarreport.com. Check us out there. We greatly appreciate it. Again, shout out to Opelika Road Rage Room as well as the Birmingham Rage Room. Guys, if you're going to go break some stuff, you don't have to worry about getting arrested. Don't have to worry about having to clean it up. Definitely hit them up. We appreciate them for sponsoring our midweek report. We're going to get out of here, guys. As always, share this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can find us on IG and X.
It's Twitter,
Formerly
man.
known
Just
as
say
Twitter.
Twitter. Just say
I
Twitter.
know,
I don't like that. I don't like the X
put
stuff.
X there. He put X there. I just read. You know what I'm saying? Or TW Report on TikTok. That's it for now, guys. Enjoy the game tonight. Hopefully, it's a very enjoyable game. We will definitely catch you on Friday morning with the morning drop facts of Nah style. Until then, enjoy your evening. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Hey, hey, hey.